Hi, this is Ed, and welcome back to Global TV Talk Show. Um, we're looking for your feedback after this show. So I want you to feel free to drop me an email. Use this email, editor global business news at gmail.com. Get right to me. We welcome feedback about style, content, usability, understanding. If you don't like it, if you do like it, that kind of thing. And we welcome advice and suggestions. One of our frequent guests, Dr. Ken Lloyd, PhD, calls that feed forward, not feedback. So feed forward is looking towards correction and making things happen. So give me your email and your thoughts following this program. Thank you. Our special guest is Ron Cooper. He's an expert. Um, his background as a U.S. Air Force pilot, squadron leader, trainer, Top Gun. His kind of activity was the model for the Tom Cruise movie character, the rigorous training, the risks, the deliverables, the precision activity, the precision training and development. He had 300 missions during the Vietnam era, flew them, came back in the plane every time. That's an American executive, an American hero. We welcome Ron Cooper, of course. And he's just joining our green room right now. Thank you. Stand by. Today's show is about employee burnout. The notes are that it's not just a well-being problem, it's a work design problem and opportunity. We're going to hear from him. Let's welcome Ron Cooper.
Good morning, Ed. It's great to be back with you and your guests.
Yeah, they'll arrive hopefully soon. But it's just you and me right now, and we're live right now. I was just doing a brief intro to you and here's Ken now. Welcome, Dr. Ken Floyd.
Thank you. Welcome back to you. Nice to see you. Ron, always nice to see you as well.
Hey,
You guys
Ken,
are
always
well.
good to be with you, partner.
So let me say that you're on live right now. I was just doing a burnout prelim. I was reading notes, and in today's LinkedIn, coincidentally, they have a featured article about this exact same topic. And their notes, and I'm not going to steal your thunder here, Ron, at all. I'm just reading things, but you're the expert. Employee burnout is not just a well-being problem. It's a work design problem. Teams overloaded with unclear priorities, constant change, weak manager support, poor recognition systems. Again, this is the LinkedIn article this morning. The trainer's discussion centered on designing a work culture where people can perform, grow, and recover without burning out. Finally, and I'm going to stop talking here, build trust, create a healthier performance culture by giving clearer feedback and better change management. Ron Cooper, this is your show, not mine.
Well, no, thank you, Ed. I appreciate this opportunity to share with you, your audience, and Dr. Ken Lloyd is certainly an expert on this as well. But I will share from my perspective that a part of this is the digital world. And yes, the technology is great, and we need to take advantage of the technology. But in my opinion, technology will never totally replace people. And so, how do we integrate technology to where we can effectively integrate and recognize people without them feeling they're being replaced? But a part of that is communication, and that's the digital world. I have expressed here before, and I do think of Facebook as an example, not negative, but it is faceless and voiceless, largely from my perspective. But what ends up happening is we can, throughout our day, become digitally overloaded. That, man, email after email after email, Zoom broadcasts, et cetera, and so on throughout the day. And where do I fit in all of this? And it has everything to do, Ed, you read about it, priorities. Where are our priorities? And it is a part of our value system. What do we as leaders prioritize? What are our values? And it can become a cliche if we say that people are our most important product, but yet we're not exemplifying that in our life. And people will know if what we speak ends up being hollow because we say different things, but we don't feel, if I'm a part of your staff, Ed, as an example, you tell me, yeah, people are the most important product, but yet I just don't feel that you really believe in what you're saying. It seems to be a very hollow statement. And I'm not saying this about you, Ed. I'm just using a representative example. But we need to make sure that what we say does not come across as being hollow. And I mean that in the context that, yes, we will follow through. We're good for our word. And when we have conversations, and Dr. Ken Lloyd is the master on this, feedback. Do we do this regularly through conversation, meaningful conversation? In the context of priorities, do I know exactly where I fit with this company? Do I know, have the leaders articulated the strategic objectives, that is several years out? And where do I fit with this? Where do my strengths and so forth? I've said a whole lot in just a few minutes right here, but I think, Ed and Ken, that's a lot of what we're referring to today, that if we don't make it very clear our priorities, and I believe this is primarily person-to-person communication, are we communicating exactly our expectations, but it's I'm expressing your value to my company, our relationship and so forth. Have I expressed that to you, and have I made you a believer in that? When I say made you, I'm not trying to force you to believe that, but do you know that to be, yep, I feel very much an integral part of this company through relationships. I know exactly who I am, the value that I bring about, and my contribution to this. Ed, one more time. That's a very long answer to your statement, but I believe that's something that we can chat about today, that how can we make people how can we have people in our organizations feel very valued?
So before we get to Dr. Ken on this, Ron, I just want the audience out there, and again, LinkedIn measures everything. And recently, over the last couple of months, uh, they have informed me of who's the audience, who's been watching these things, not just this series, but others. 60% roughly are in senior level positions within companies having 10,000, I'm sorry, 1,000 or more employees, US and global. And roughly half of that, 30%, again, according to LinkedIn, it's 10,000 or more employees, senior level. So that's not the majority, but it's a good chunk of corporate awareness. They have received the program in their inbox. and have opened it. How long they were on, it doesn't say. Let me ask you a question on the readings that I did briefly on Chat GBT based upon what the LinkedIn people were putting out there this morning. It's all about building trust. You and I have had this discussion before, but who brings you in? Is it the board, the CEO? They probably okay it for sure, but you're tasked to get that middle manager to redesign, to to create a better workplace culture. Am I wrong at that?
No, you're right. It's okay. The leader establishes the culture. The leader, whomever, whatever the title, is the person who says this company will represent. And now, how do I ensure the middle manager aligns with my values? Well, I would hope that if that middle manager was hired during my time in presence, that I interviewed based on values. Do I have reason to believe this person aligns with my values? But if at any point, if I came in and I, quote, inherited this middle manager, I would want to ensure that the middle manager aligns with my values. And if that person, for some reason, does not align with the values of the company, that is, we value people, then I will talk with that person. If that person comes across that, nope, they vehemently, we are in different worlds, so to speak, that we don't share the same values that with people, and if I would have a middle manager who would say something to the effect, just sit down, you do as I tell you, which sounds just very over the top, but yet there's some people who project that image. You sit down and I will tell you what it is you are to do, and you report back to me what you did, and I'll evaluate whether what you did was satisfactory or not. And if that's the kind of environment we have, then we're not really totally engaged. I'm just a person who's in a chair, and I'm just here to get a paycheck. But I know Dr. Ken Lloyd is the master at the personal relationships, but in terms of trust, it is how well do we relate to each other. And again, yes, there are digital ways that we can relate, but I am a believer, and I'm the old school maybe, but face to face, the way we literally communicate with each other as we are doing right now, can we have a very effective interrelationship to where we are progressively communicating with each other? Or do I feel you're just filling a square, that you feel obligated to speak with me, and you've checked that mark off your to-do checklist type thing? And I as a worker in your staff member in your organization, I will have an impression to where if you are speaking to me and it sounds seems or sounds very hollow, I'll know.
And it's about building trust, creating a healthier performance culture by giving clearer feedback and better change management. What does that mean?
I think what they're talking about in terms of giving better feedback is that it's being with your employees, being there, being available, being responsive, and not just giving them feedback or, if you will, feed forward on their work, but on what else is going on. How else can I support you in this role? How are things going? In other words, if we're meeting with our team regularly, whether it's once or twice a week, formally scheduled, let's talk about what's happening so that we do not allow the digital world to take over. Our employees and families are being bombarded all the time by information from the digital world, and it can really detract and move people off of really where they want to be. It interferes with thinking, social relationships, understanding, and it's fine in organizations for leaders to come in and articulate beautifully. We are an open, communicative, respectful, two-way communication organization. We care about you. That's wonderful. but you got to get out there and demonstrate it. And just as Ron is saying, right from the top of the organization, it can't just be waving the flag. You really have to get in there and do it and practice it. And I know Ron's been in organizations where the people will say, yeah, they talk a great game here. They just don't really utilize it. And that's the key thing. People are getting more and more understanding of how important it is to have the respect and trust and two-way communication. But when it really comes to it, that's where the action is. And frankly, that's where an organization like Ron's and the Cooper culture will really get in and take the culture you articulate and implement it and make it real, and all the benefits that accrue to the individuals and the organization itself that come from that kind of approach.
Ron?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an example of meaningful relationships. Marty and I, just a few days ago, attended our alma mater. I'm a Virginia Tech Hokie, and there is an annual reunion. We were there from Wednesday through Sunday, and I think it was Tuesday this week, 2 days ago, I got an email message saying, would you mind filling out a survey? And it took maybe 2 minutes to complete that survey. And I'm thinking, I want to go well beyond the survey. I am going to prepare a letter that goes into depth of everything, and I want to be very complimentary with the attention to detail that people put into this weekend. I can only suppose several hundred people planned the events that were, it was 8, maybe even 12 hours of events for each of the 4 days we were there. But what I'm building up to is I want to take the time to express my appreciation for the attention to detail that people put into this. And it was one person at the top who headed up the alumni committee, but that person inspired others to bring about ideas. And for me to just spend 2 minutes on a quick survey, for me personally, does an injustice to the number of people who spent time putting this together. So I'm going to take the time to write what may be a 2-page letter. I haven't written it yet, but I want to go into detail my observations of all of the positive things I saw that related to attention to detail, everything in a positive manner. In the context of digital, this will be a digital feedback to the person, or digital meaning I'm going to send a letter. It'll be on paper, and I could send it email, or maybe I'll do both. But at any rate, I want the person to know that I am taking the time to be very personal, taking an in-depth look at what they did, and it's everything about it is very complimentary. And I have one very small suggestion having to do with page numbers, but I say all of what I'm saying to say that I want, in the context of Dr. Lloyd, feedback, feed forward. I want people to know how appreciative I am that I I look for attention to detail. Have people put attention to detail together, and I look for little things that, such as, did you continuously fill the ice tray, fill the water glasses, those kinds of things. Those are little attention to detail that I look for, and I want to be very complimentary in saying, I saw it. And those are things that make for a very quality event relating to quality people, but I want it to relate directly to the persons who put the event together, and that attention to detail. One more time, a very lengthy explanation to relationships, trust, and making people feel they have value. That's a lot of what I represent.
So did all that, Ron, very, very briefly, did all that planning and implementation encourage members to share things about themselves, be willing to do that?
Oh, yes. Marty and I went there as we looked at the list of attendees, those who graduated from Virginia Tech, we didn't know anyone on the list. Well, I say we didn't graduate with any of those personally on the list. That there were fellow graduates, but I did not know them personally. We left knowing people, that meeting people we did not know from the past. We met people that had been to previous reunions, so we renewed our acquaintance. And quite honestly, we picked up conversation right where we left off previously. And I think that to some degree there were, many of the people are of an age where, if you use the word retirement, Marty and I don't, but if you use that word retire, many of the people have retired or they've transitioned into another phase of life, meaning they're very settled in what they're doing. And that's the kind of people that we were meeting with. And so what I'm building up to is that everyone was very, very sociable, and they may have very different lifestyles from each other, but we're all in an environment to where we welcome being with each other. I have reason to believe that every year this reunion is going to grow by several hundred. It's going to, I quite honestly, I mentioned to several people there, you're probably going to have to find, you may even have to have the reunions on separate weekends to accommodate all the different people, because we did, in fact, if a fire marshal had been on site, probably would have stopped several meetings because we overbooked. We had too many people in the room. But at any rate, that's I'm rambling on to a tangent, but I'm saying that this is such a popular event. I have reason to believe it's going to grow in attendance in every year, but it has to do primarily with relationships with people. That's what it's about. And yes, it's marketing, but once you're there, you feel, wow, this is where I want to be.
So it's an indication of a driving need for a want, a desire by many people to connect.
That's a very well stated, Ed. I want to connect with other people. And I think in the workplace, a lot of what we're talking about here, and the word burnout comes to mind, that I just don't feel totally engaged, associated with. I don't feel totally connected with. I just feel like I'm just some piece of whatever on the shelf here. But people want to be connected. They want to be genuinely connected, appreciated. And when we as leaders have that culture and people genuinely feel connected and appreciated, you're going to get very good productivity from people. And we're going to advance. We're going to share innovative ideas with people. That is the culture that we help people create.
So, Ken, this is all about psychological safety.
Oh, sure. Psychological safety is a very important part of it, where people can absolutely feel that I can state my opinions, my views, my suggestions, and input, and I'm not going to get ridiculed. I'm not going to get reprimanded. I'm actually going to be heard. And not that everything I suggest is going to fall into place, but the context, the environment, the culture is such that we want to hear from you. We want your thoughts. We'll discuss them. It's totally safe here, completely to present your thoughts and ideas. And in terms of building that engagement, to have positions in which employees truly have opportunities to learn, to grow, to advance, to be recognized for their work, to sense achievement, to have truly meaningful roles and responsibilities, that's what we're really talking about. Not just coming in, doing a job, and at the end of the day, you're done. And then every couple of weeks, you get a check and goodbye. That's a very different feeling. And that's how you lose employees, as opposed to having that growth-oriented environment where they can, the buzzword's kind of self-actualize, where they can really develop and advance.
Right.
Well, that's Ken is always right on that. Very great insight into people. But, in the context of are we moving forward as a business and as a group, staff, yes, we generally want to know what other people think. And just earlier this week, a person commented, surround yourself with people who do not think the way you do. And I think, yes, definitely want to, because I want to learn from other people. Each of you, Ken and Ed, you have different perspectives than I do. I can learn from you. Now, am I just being hollow with what I say, or am I actually listening to what you are saying when you speak? And I would hope that every leader would listen well. And am I understanding what you're saying? And it's very appropriate. I frequently say, okay, here's how I'm processing what you're saying. Did I understand that correctly? And Ken or Ed, you may say, well, no, that's not exactly what I was saying. But and that's okay. I may misinterpreted something, but I'm very interested in learning your perspective, because it's very likely you have a perspective I do not. You can read something and read something into it and process it in a totally different way from me. And I'm thinking, wow, Ken, Ed, I didn't draw that interpretation at all from. Tell me more about that. I'm intrigued with what you're saying. And so, can we advance or elevate what a person does and says? And my hope is we're always advancing and elevating people, their thinking. And when we encourage people that way, it's very likely people are going to say, man, I tell you what, that's I feel as if I'm genuinely appreciated at the office. And it's very possible, although I certainly don't expect it, but it's very possible that in the quietness of home, whatever we're doing, and even while we're mowing the grass and doing some mindless activity like that, it's very possible something at work will come to mind and say, man, I just thought about, and bring that idea to work the next day, or just share it with someone digitally or however we do it, and say, man, what a great idea. Let's advance that even further. But Ken Lloyd is a master at just stimulating thinking, but that is a lot of what I represent, Ed. Let's stimulate each other's thinking, because, man, I tell you what, there's no end to advancing thought into something very productive. And when I credit you for bringing an idea together, and yes, let's build on that. People want to continue in that kind of environment where they know they're appreciated.
And the LinkedIn article this morning referred to the need to fix the way the work is designed for the team, and the integration of the team members on, I guess, the communication by the leadership to the middle manager, whose responsibility is the team players, and yet the team is the one who's suffering. So, can you address that work redesign concept?
Well, and
sorry. Go ahead, Marty.
No, Ken.
Marty, go ahead, Ron.
No, Ken, I'm interested in your thoughts, because you always stimulate my thinking.
Well, it's interesting. What Ed was saying was, the leaders talk with the employees and tell them that. I think the key thing is not to come in there so much with your mouth going, but maybe with your ears and eyes and other senses taking over, and try to truly understand whatever may be going on. Even the notion of a survey here that Ron mentioned, that they didn't have to do a survey at this reunion. It was great, fine, everybody was there. Instead, they want to continuously improve. And that kind of thinking applies well in managerial functions, whether we do a formal survey or get out there and talk with the troops. If work jobs need to be, in quotes, fixed, it's not going to just happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen if employees are reluctant to say anything. It's not going to happen if they're not engaged. But as managers, as leaders, the idea would be to come in and work individually and collectively, group-wise, with the team in a learning mode. In other words, how are things going? How can we help? But the ears and mind are truly open to what the employees are experiencing. And if we want to make a so-called fix, we do it jointly, we do it collaboratively. We don't just come in and, all right, great, we heard you, here are the changes. That's just going back to the same old one-way communication mode, as opposed to truly listening, working with the team, and where fixes are needed, let's work together. Not every suggested fix from the employees will work or will be great, but through collaboration, we can come up with some really good ideas and solutions. But to me, the approach would be collaborative, communicative, truly responsive, active listening as key components to fix whatever may need fixing. And not just, hey, once a year, it's our fix it meeting, but rather ongoing engagement with the individuals in the team to make sure that in this rapid and dynamically changing world and workplace, we're totally staying current and making sure that as things need adjustments and corrections are made.
And again, Ken, you stimulate my thinking always. Learn, share, collaborate. I hope everyone in my organization has a hunger to learn, a genuine hunger to learn. I want to read. I want to research. I want to do whatever I can to learn what I don't know about. Now, share. I want to share with you, Ken. I want to share with you, Ed, because, gosh, I just learned something, Ken and Ed, about whatever the topic is. Ken, Ed, I think you can each, okay, how do I use this information? You, I think, are have more of an aptitude in whatever topic I'm thinking about. How can I use this? And I just have an idea. What do you think? Because your aptitude is better than mine, and I don't know, Ken. Help me think into this a little bit further, and then working collaboratively. Boy, I tell you what, to me, that is to a mutual benefit. Yeah. Ken, Ed, you and we're all three going to benefit from sharing information. But if I consider you two a threat to me, then I'm not going to share with you. I want to create an atmosphere where we choose to create, not compete. And so, okay, yes, we're competing with each other to a degree, but yet Ken and Ed, you each have traits, talents that I don't. But as we share with each other, hey, we're in this together, and I'm not going to lose out, so to speak. I'm not competing with you, but I feel I can genuinely create because, gosh, Ken, you think in ways that I don't, and I think, wow, let me share an idea with you. But together, we're stronger than two of us individually. And when we think that way, hey, we're going to totally engage with each other. We will progress. But that's all a part of a culture. That do I feel comfortable collaborating in that way? Is collaborating just a word, or are we genuinely doing that?
Yeah.
Amen.
but in the context of burnout and engagement, are our people really engaged? And I just love an environment where, gosh, you stimulate my thinking. I heard what you just said, and wow, Ken, let me think on that just a little bit. Just wow, you stimulated my thinking, but help me advance that thought. And I use the term frequently. What is the art of the possible? But that's stimulating thinking. Gosh, can we do that? And Ken and Ed, I'm going to come to you and just say, help me think into this. What may be the next step, and how do we get from here to there? Because I think we're on the path to something really good. I just can't think all the way through this, but help me think into this. And as we work together that way, I guarantee you that we're always, 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 and again, the culture is every person, every process, every culture can and should be improved. We're always advancing. And if we think that way, hey, we're always elevating each other. We're always getting better at what we do. Always.
So, Ron, as we come to a close here in the next 10 minutes or so, I'd like to ask you to say something personal. So you can relate to these people out there who are still tuned in. In college at Virginia Tech, What were the two most favorite courses that you can remember?
Well, I enjoyed math. I have an aptitude where math, and that's a very broad topic, but algebra, I felt pretty good at that. And but then we took an elective that was psychology, and I think yeah, that's about people, and I was very intrigued with that. A topic that I could not totally engage in was appreciation of poetry. I had to just thank God for Marty. I was married to her, and I said, Marty, please, please, somehow, some way, you're going to have to get me through this course. Appreciation for poetry. My mind is not geared to that. But the math and psychology, I was into that. And a lot of what we do right now has to do with, and we mentioned the term here earlier, psychological safety, but people as I'm an aerospace engineer with my undergraduate degree, so I I consider myself a closet nerd in the context of being an engineer, and so all engineers of a variety are nerds in some way, but we've got to be able to relate well to people that very generally when you're starting out in a career, yes, your technical expertise is going to get you in the door. But as you too progress beyond that into supervisory positions, you have to understand and be able to relate well to people. That's just the way things are. And so the psychology of people, how can we relate well with people? And that's a lot of learning and being willing to adapt to other people. And everyone has a different personality, but it's a matter of relating to them. Ed, again, a long answer to your question, but math and psychology were two areas of study that were very interesting to me that had, to a degree, little to do with building airplanes. Flying airplanes is what I did. But yet, if people don't relate well together and understand people, the team required to build an airplane is not going to happen.
Dr. Kent,
As always,
what are your two favorite courses in
I just want to say, just great
undergrad?
points by Ron there. My favorite undergrad courses were, I was a political science major because I thought I wanted to go to law school. And ultimately, when I got into law school, I did not accept it and switched and stayed with my favorite classes were psychology. I liked the intro to psych. Professor Crutchfield taught it, and just the broad range of what's in the area of psychology. And then there was a class in developmental psych taught by Professor Paul Musson, who is an expert in the field of development and child development psychologically. And there was just so much to be learned. We've talked about the importance of learning so much. And as exciting as that was, it truly was. It was so interesting on the development of the brain and language among children and all. And that interest in learning continues. I see it certainly with both of you. And frankly, when that stops, it's game over. Our effectiveness at work, at home, and our personal life, it ends. And particularly as all this world is changing so rapidly, not that we're going to be experts in any of these super technical areas, but to try and understanding. I hear you, Ed, talking about using Chat GPT and all of that is just so important as opposed to just denying its relevance. No, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I remember when computers first came in, I was working with a brilliant consultant who would do all the math by hand just because he was checking it. He wasn't sure that the computer was going to do it correctly. As opposed to now, let's really try and stay current and in fields we might not be that familiar with, to continue reading and going to seminars, podcasts, classes. I take regular classes virtually and in topics that are quite different. So my two favorite classes were the two psych classes. A long answer to a short question. I just want to mention one other point because it ties in with what Ron had said. My dad, I know I mentioned this before, and he was a great businessman. I know I talked about signage on his walls. He had a sign that said, "It can't be done," except "can't be" has an X through it, and it says "hasn't been." And that was his philosophy. That's how he worked in his business. And it really helped him throughout life. And that's kind of the way to be thinking about things. If we keep saying it can't be done, we're looking backwards. It's not going to get us anywhere, literally, except backwards.
So
And I
my,
will tell you, Ken, one more time inspires me. But yes, I'm the kind of person you tell me it can't be done, and something that requires additional thinking. And so, if you tell me it can't be done, I'll get with you, Ken, and the two of us. Oh yeah, I want to prove you wrong. Quite honestly, that's exactly where I am. I want to prove you wrong because, and as you get to know me, just tell me I can't do it. And that's and if you tell me that and knowing you will inspire me, you will inspire me because I want to prove you wrong, and I mean that in a very positive, progressive way.
very briefly, my two undergrad courses that I loved was social psychology, and so we read Kierkegaard and some other stuff. This is a long time ago, of course, and the discussions were all about why people do things, and in a business context, and I don't remember anything about getting personal. The professor was probably the driver of that. If the professor was a lady, we'd probably get into the personal things. I'm just stereotyping here, but uh, uh, he was a football coach and just a brilliant marketing guy. And it was all about social psychology, the why people are buying products and what do they do and how do they relate to Colgate Palmolive versus Crest, things like that. Real life business examples. And the other was marketing. And I related those two together. I put them all together and I aced them both. It was just a wonderful thing. And to this day, I still think about the marketing prof's thing about marketing myopia. Can't see the forest through the trees. Like, what business are you really in? And the famous case study that I mentioned previously on the shows was the New York Central Railroad not buying up the land adjacent to the tracks. And then they went bankrupt. As opposed to Burlington Northern and Santa Fe or whatever it's called, that conglomerate train companies that Warren Buffett bought up. They bought up everything in sight. And there's a world of difference. So I relate it to how can me as a business guy or you as a business guy, as a business owner or leader, sell better, market better, explain what you're doing better. And when COVID crashed into my live conference business in February, March of 2020, 30 years of doing live meetings and the money that and the prestige that came with all that went poof. And then my radio show partner, Paul at the time, he says, you need to learn Zoom and get into it today. Don't worry about training, just do it. Get comfortable with the camera because that's the future. And that was in 2020. So since then, 1,100 broadcasts. And here we are today. So thank you,
Well,
guys.
congratulations to you, Ed. I'll just be very vulnerable in saying I am learning marketing, and I want to be very careful not to over self promote. I speak on the topic of confidence versus arrogance. If I were to over promote, I get into the point of being arrogant. And if self promotion, yes, people need to know who we are, what we're about, and so forth, but self promotion tries to promote me above you, others, and that gets into the area of arrogance, and that's a real turnoff to me. And so I am learning how to market. That's one of the areas where I feel that I have a lot to learn. So I'll just put that out to you, Ken, and anybody listening.
Ken?
No, absolutely. The bigger picture that comes to my mind is just exactly going on with it, Ron. It's that strengths that are taken to an extreme can become a weakness. You can be confident. Confidence is great. But then when it goes to an extreme, just as Ron said, it turns into arrogance. And you can look at other so-called strengths that are pushed too far. And that ends up being detrimental to the person, as well as to everyone around that person and what that person's trying to accomplish in his or her life.
Thanks. I'll work on the brief editing on this and get the show out to you and out to the world later today. So
Great.
once again, I welcome feedback out there, audience. Reach me, give us feedback, and feed forward. So we could do this better again. And so my email, editor, global business news @gmail.com. I'm listening and watching for your help. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ken.
Thanks back to both of you.
Come
Thank
back
you.
again.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Be well, guys.
Thank